Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry for this awkward setup, but welcome back to the Antichrista. This week, I guess it's not this week, more like this month or two, I'm talking about Paul and Morgan. They're two Christian adjacent fundamentalist YouTubers, and they have an Instagram, they have TikTok, they just keep trying to get famous, but it hasn't really worked for them. And now they're in their 30s, they have kids, and they're still trying it. So I decided to paint them because I think that they're stinky. Mostly because of their actions and words, but also because there is poop on their couch that Morgan has eaten. And this is Morgan. For her, this is the finished product of my painting process. This is Morgan. She's the one who ate the poop. So for this painting, I wanted to use secondary colors for both of them because they're quite villainous. And like if you're looking at like Disney villains and other villains in other movies, usually they're secondary colors, so like purple, green, orange. So I used a lot of purple, green, and orange for Paul and Morgan. For Morgan, I started out going pretty artistic. She used to wear this like really orange highlighter, maybe because Paul really likes Trump and she's always trying to get his attention. They're very hypocritical, like Morgan can wear short outfits, tight outfits, and she's okay, she's not going to hell. But other women, they're going to hell. And Paul, he can wear his effeminate outfits, he can even dress in Morgan's clothes, and he's not going to hell. But other men who do that, sorry to say, on Paul's authority, you're going to hell. There's some other reasons why I think that they're going to hell, because they take the Bible literally and claim to be of the word, not of the world. But they're of the world, not of the word. For one thing, Paul doesn't have long temple hair. The Bible explicitly says you need to have your long temple hair or you're going to hell. And another thing is that Morgan has really large faded tattoos. The Bible says that if you have tattoos, you're going to hell. And Paul loves pickleball. They seem to be spending a lot of money on it. They should be spending money on tattoo removal. I mean, I like tattoos, as you can see. But, yeah. Oh yeah, don't worry. I have my emotional support Shrek. He's watching me. But yeah, on to the video. Oh, before I do that. I decided to use the background. For this one, I used Holbein acrylic ink. I think it was called sap green, but it kind of looks like human excrement, which is a reminder of what Morgan ate. Yeah, okay, on to the video now. They call themselves Christians. Paul and Morgan are a smelly couple from Kentucky who live in the world and are not of the word. They're a trashy reality show that you can't really escape from. You keep seeing clips of it, but you have no idea what's going on, except in this case I have a lot of clues as to what's going on. And they constantly self-report their lives, and their lives are just boring, and they do a lot of questionable things despite being adults in their 30s. Paul and Morgan are two physically and mentally able adults who refuse to get jobs to support themselves and are desperately trying to go viral on the internet, even though they're past their internet prime. And before I go too deep into it, I feel like I need to state that I don't really feel sorry for Morgan or Paul. Morgan was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and Paul has repeatedly stated that he has ADHD. I have schizoaffective disorder and autism, so I'm diagnosed. I feel like I'm a bit qualified to say that I don't think that when they go on their hateful rants, they're not in control of themselves. What I'm trying to say is that I think they're in control of themselves when they go on their hateful rants. Um, and they're not being controlled by their mental illness or disabilities. I only say that because I don't like the term neurodivergent. I'm weird. But they refuse to receive help from a qualified source like a psychiatrist or therapist that is not or that is secular, and they are capable of living on their own and somehow are supporting themselves financially, maybe not totally by themselves. And they might not have mentally aged past 15, but they are in control of themselves. And so when it comes to appearance, it seems like it's the most important thing to them. I'm not going to make fun of them for their appearances with like things that you can't change in 15 minutes by like shaving your face, washing your hair, something simple like that. So Paul and Morgan, their marriage as it appears from the outside. So they're pro getting married quickly after meeting, which is kind of what they did. They met on Tinder and they got married about 8 months later. As I did research for this video, I watched Rachel Oates' 8-hour-long video on it to refresh my memory. I think she did a pretty good job at covering everything. They appear to have made it out of the honeymoon phase of their relationship, and after then it went sour. They like clearly do not like each other. And I think the only reason they got married because Paul was feeling morally superior to Morgan, and he was in his late 20s, and he was a virgin with rage when they got married, while Morgan was not. And he seems to hold that above her head constantly. He's always bringing it up. And I think Morgan feels superior to everyone else because she is miserable, and that makes her holy. She also went through with an unplanned, not extremely happy pregnancy, and she seemingly doesn't really like being a mother because she's constantly complaining about it. They're pro-life, but they're really just pro-forced pregnancy and birth. They're anti-vaxxers, and they do believe that the Bible should be taken literally. So, something that they don't really seem to take literally, they really only seem to like the parts about homosexuality and other queer parts of the Bible that it says you're going to hell for. Those are the only parts they take literally. But things like Matthew 18:9, that's the one about cutting your eyeballs out because you're tempted. Paul's constantly tempted by the young women he comes across, unfortunately. It's unfortunate for the women. He's constantly tempted by this one gym girl he always mentions, and he ogles women with tattoos. The gym girl wears revealing outfits, kind of like Morgan does, but Paul's not really attracted to Morgan, so she can wear what she wants and Paul's fine with it. And Paul and Morgan do appear a bit older than their chronological ages. There's nothing wrong with that, but they do because they're transphobic. I don't know why, it just makes you look older than you actually are. They do claim to be a young couple on their Patreon, but that's kind of a stretch. They've been married for about 8 years, so I wouldn't say that's exactly young. Maybe if they were like 1 year into marriage, they could be a young couple. Oh yeah, Morgan famously barfed at the altar at the wedding. That was pretty hilarious. Here's the references I used for their portraits. I chose these references because Paul is wearing his "How do you do, fellow kids" out-of-style backwards hat with his Hot Topic Made Marian shirt. A few years ago, they did think Disney was too woke, but I guess they forgot about that, and Paul's back into his Disney adultness. I chose to make Paul's beard look extra scraggly and pubic because that's what Paul's beard looks like. He's always trying to grow it out, but it isn't really working for him. And I chose Morgan's reference because she likes to pretend to be a 15-year-old teen mom, but she looks like she's well into her 30s, and she does make a lot of interesting facial expressions as she blabs about how she's better than other women. While I was doing the portraits, I did use a lot of orange. Thought it was fun, and it's a secondary color, so I just kept up with it. And Paul's a bit of an artist himself. He made this picture of Morgan and their kids for a Christmas present. Oh yeah, they love showing their kids. They seem to want to get attention for it. Like, I feel like I recognize it a lot because I really hate babies. I just hate them. They're annoying, they're gross. I hate them so much, and they constantly post them. And it makes me so angry because I don't like it when people show their kids on their public social media, especially when they're trying to be public figures like Paul and Morgan. And yeah, I feel like that's not fair to them. Paul recently released a book. It's seemingly like a self-insert book. In the sample that people found, it's filled with typos and the writing's really bad. He also commissioned an AI art. I say this in quotes, AI artist for the cover. So it basically looks like they just took Link from Breath of the Wild specifically and made his hair brown and his eyes green. Yeah. He did do his own cover for it in the past. It surprisingly was done by a man in his 20s. And there is a very concerning, suggestive looking compass or shield, I'm not sure what it is, in the cover, which is pretty funny. So another thing about Paul's book is that there's a gender non-conforming character. That's a sin, Paul. You hate those people. A small background about Paul is that he is a beauty school dropout and failed model. He is also a failed children's YouTuber and aspiring pickleball player in his late 30s. It is kind of funny because normally when people want to go pro at sports, they start as like a teenager or even a little kid. But Paul's decided to take it on in his late 30s. To be fair, pickleball is played by a lot of older people. Like, my mom really likes it, and she's old. For Paul's children's YouTube channel, it was called The Polio Show, but it is fondly referred to as The Polio Show, specifically because his kids are not vaccinated against polio. And based on the video I watched of them, Paul isn't also vaccinated for polio. So he wears pajamas and wears what appears to be beige Spanx on his head, or like some sort of beige shapewear. It kind of looks like a used condom, which is funny. But he seems to want this venture erased from the internet, but remember to never forget. And a bit about Morgan is that she is a failed model and singer. She has canonically eaten human feces. Never forget that. And her singing isn't bad, but there isn't really anything special about it. Like, a lot of Christian singers are also mid, but she seems to have not figured out the chord progression that most modern Christian music uses. Oh, there is this one Christian singer I actually like. His name is Ice JJ Fish. You may remember him from his hit song, On the Floor, that goes something a bit like, "There's something about you, girl, that just makes my head wanna twirl." That song's amazing, and he has found Jesus, and his music is beautiful. Unfortunately, he does use AI art for his covers, but what I'm saying is that if Ice JJ Fish was performing in church, I would actually go. I love Ice JJ Fish's music. It's so bad, it's good. But Morgan, one of her recent singles, WDYGAL, which stands for What Are You Got Life? That's my impersonation of her singing. It pales in comparison to Ice JJ Fish. Basically, she's just upset that she is being judged for what she publicly posts on the internet to her audience of many, many people. Or maybe it's not many. I don't think we'll ever know. But if Morgan's music was playing in a church, I would probably just turn away. So Paul and Morgan really hate queer people. They hate trans people especially. Like in one of their videos, Morgan was hating on non-binary people like myself. And she was like, you can't be they, them people. You just can't. And she just like randomly started ranting about that. Another one of my favorite parts of their bizarre rants is Paul ranting about interracial couples in Lord of the Rings. And he like looks like he's gonna stroke out because he's so angry. And I think they deleted that video, but it's important to remember that the internet is forever. And so back to the point. They believe that queer people, especially trans people, existing is inappropriate for children, but they have no problem using their toddler to share sexy messages between them in public places. Paul and Morgan, as you can see, are huge hypocrites. They shame people for having any body fat, yet they eat fast food all the time. They beg for money, and yet they go to Whole Foods, which is notoriously expensive, frequently. And if I tried to cover everything, it would be like hours long. There are people like Fundy Fridays, Rachel Oates, Mickey Atkins, and B. Haney who have covered them pretty thoroughly. I'm gonna end it here because I don't want this video to be as long as my other video. Put a poop in the comments like a poop emoji. That's what I mean, not actual poop, just a poop emoji in the comments if you made it to the end. And oh yeah, I have an Instagram linked below, and should I make like a Patreon? I could share my sketches and whatnot. Yeah, thanks for watching my video. Have a good day, and goodbye.